Hi guys. Okay, so in my last video I was talking about ADHD. As I said, now the process is going to be autism, ADHD as these videos progress. Now, today I'm going to be talking about another common characteristic or trait that you might find in people with autism, which is called masking. Okay, now masking essentially is the, practice, I suppose, of pretending or modeling your behaviors and how you interact with people based on what you've seen to kind of fit in with society, to sort of almost like play a role. Now, I'll get into that more, but first I gotta make a mention. If you like the content, you want to see more, follow, leave a like, comment, questions in the comments, requests in the comments, please, because I love them. Subscribe to the YouTube channel and repost the video because it's helpful. Anyway, let's get into it. Now, masking is something I'm particularly, what's the word I want to use? I suppose masking is something I'm particularly aware of, or interested in as a characteristic of autism, especially on a personal level, because I mask a lot. Of course, I wasn't aware I was masking until someone explained it to me. Now, essentially, if you're someone with autism, you might have noticed in yourself. Have you ever sat outside a social interaction or social situation, seen how people act towards each other, the way they carry themselves, their facial expressions, the way they speak, the slang they use, or how they respond to certain questions or certain phrases, like, how are you? Oh, I'm good today, how are you? That kind of thing, something as simplistic as that. And then found yourself in the next social interaction that you managed to get involved in, kind of imitating that. That's what masking is. Now, it's more commonly seen in autistic girls than it is in boys. Again, I'm not sure, but there isn't really any exact reason why that is, because again, autism as well as ADHD, as well as all neurodivergent disorders and such, are still being researched. They're still being looked into, and lots more information is coming out as time progresses. And like I said, that's why more people these days are getting diagnosed, especially people at a later age, because they wouldn't have thought about it when they were younger, or perhaps their parents didn't pick up on it. A lot of the time, these things will just be put down to you're an anxious child, or you're socially awkward, or you're more of an introvert than an extrovert. But there's a lot more going on than just that. So masking is basically like an autistic person's method, like a subconscious method that you have to try and avoid the awkwardness or the anxiety of not understanding what you're doing in the social interaction, or finding it difficult to be yourself, and just kind of allows you to slide yourself into that social situation. Because there is another misconception now. A lot of time, people with autism just are naturally introverted, and in other words, they don't want to hang around with people. They're not particularly interested in being around other people. But that's not actually the case. I know plenty of people with autism who really enjoy being around people. I myself am one of them. I really do love a social situation. I like having my own time, I like being on my own, but at the same time, I can find it really boring really quickly, or really lonely, or my thoughts, because they're already kind of spiraling all the time, I'm always thinking about something, they can become very overwhelming because I don't have anything around me to distract me, even when I'm doing something on my own. I like a conversation with someone, I like to have fun, I like to be with friends. Most of the time I'm hanging out with my brothers because I don't want to be alone. So people with autism can very much crave that social interaction. The problem is when it comes to their anxiety, their sensory issues, their inability to communicate sometimes, or understand certain forms of communication, like expressions and gestures and phrases and so on and so forth, then that can make it very frustrating and awkward to be in a social situation. And unfortunately, the effect of that then, especially when you're young and then you're growing up and you're in that delicate developmental stage, is you can start to feel very lonely and very isolated. You can start to feel very depressed even. I mean, I certainly did. There were lots of times when I really wanted to be involved with something and I couldn't bring myself to. But group projects, if it was brought up in class, it would be like a meltdown for me instantly, inside, not outside, because I didn't want people to see me reacting that way. But that's masking, because I didn't want people to see me that way and then make assumptions about me, because I always was thinking to myself, what are they going to say about me? What are they going to think about me? And that's not a healthy thing to say. You know, you should be happy with who you are and should be proud of who you are and comfortable as the person you are. Whether you're extroverted, introverted, whether you like hanging out with people, don't like hanging out with people, whether you understand certain jokes or you don't. You have a good sense of humor or you have a bad sense of humor. It doesn't matter. You're a person. You're allowed to be different to other people around you. You don't need to be accepted by everyone. And it's unrealistic to expect to be accepted by everyone, because everyone kind of have their, I don't know, pet peeves, I suppose, when it comes to certain characteristics that a person might have. But that's where masking comes in, because masking is like almost like a survival instinct, I suppose, for social interactions, because it allows you to adapt. Now, that's the thing. That's why it can be a very good thing, in my opinion, because, like I said, it can help you breach the gap between what you don't understand and what you do understand. And I kind of subconsciously was using masking to keep inside friend groups. I would make friends really quickly sometimes not very quickly, but in comp it was much more easier. And as I made friends, I would kind of adapt my personality depending on which friend group I was in or what friends I were hanging around with at the time. For instance, I had friends who were boys and friends who were girls, and stereotypically the girls that I was friends with liked to sit down and have a chat, and I was okay with that, but I was also very hyper, part of my ADHD, you know, very impulsive. I wanted to do something actively, but I didn't want to come across as ignorant, so I would sit and I'd be like, oh yeah, I heard about that, and engage in the gossip. But another half of the time, if I was hanging out with the boys that I was friends with, who were very stereotypically like rowdy and like to push each other down the banks or create a human pyramid and run into the side of it, things like that, or climb a tree, then I would be interacting with them. I'd become a little bit more boyish, my phrases would become more suitable to the way they talked, and so on and so forth. It's like sometimes I carry myself very maturely, very ladylike, depending on the situation, and other times very childishly. But these days, it's almost like an intentional thing now. I do drama, and I actually used masking, my natural masking, in my drama to kind of assimilate the characters, because I am always analysing, when you're masking, you're always analysing what different types of people are like, how they speak, how they, like I said, how they carry themselves, the kinds of people to be around, how they'll react to certain kinds of people. And I use that in my drama, and usually I can give quite a natural performance, as my teachers explain, and sometimes I've explained it to them where I think it's coming from. But that's it. But it's a bit of a double-edged sword, because at the same time there's going to be a point where you might find yourself acting like a person that you're not, and you don't want to be that forever, because it can make you feel a bit suppressed. Like, again, I've been there. So masking is a good thing and it's a bad thing, but it depends on you, because as you get older you're going to become more aware of yourself, of the person you are, and you're going to become more comfortable with that one way or another. And the trick is not being afraid to settle into the person you are, kind of letting that masking slip away. And the people around you, if they're really your friends, if they really care about you, they're going to accept you no matter what, so it doesn't matter. But yeah, but that's essentially masking in autism. I know I went a bit of a philosophical, like, be who you want to be kind of route there, but I'm just trying to convey what I think about it. Right, so I think that'll be it for this video. Next video, of course, is going to be about ADHD, and I guess if you like the video, you know, as I said, follow, like, leave a comment, subscribe, repost the video, questions, requests, thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you next time. Till then, have a great day. Bye.